And we were able to just get these two partners on board within 4 weeks, demonstrated, have their applications and models that they have built and worked on, I would say, for months or years with other providers and other AI model providers and hardware providers, and move it to us in a matter of weeks. Now, so embedded world will have we have these ISVs, but we'll have newer ISVs, and it's not again a coincidence that the first two happened that quickly. We're starting to see a trend.
Welcome to another episode of AI with Sally, an EE Times podcast that brings you inside my conversations with luminaries of the AI chip industry. As Edge AI moves beyond its initial use cases into a wider range of real-world applications, even established chip companies are rethinking how they go to market. In this episode, I'm speaking with Muneyb Minhazuddin, Customer Growth Officer at Ambarella, about the evolution of the company's go-to-market strategy for AI, from a tightly controlled direct sales model towards a more open ecosystem type of strategy. With the launch of Ambarella's DevZone developer portal, new partnerships with independent software vendors, and plans to publish optimized models, Ambarella's positioning itself as a full-stack Edge AI platform. In this conversation, we explore what's driving this transformation and how vertical markets are reshaping edge deployments. Here's my conversation with Muneyb. Okay, welcome to the show, Muneyb.
Thank you, Sal, for having me, Sally.
So we're going to talk about Ambarella's go-to-market strategy a little bit today, because this go-to-market strategy is changing, or is evolving, shall we say. We're going to talk about what's evolving and why. I know previously you worked with like automotive OEMs and consumer electronics manufacturers, and you kind of would work directly with them in this kind of direct touch approach. You basically had no resellers and no channel. And in general, I think your customer profile was mainly bigger companies. I think that's fair to say. But set the scene for us in terms of like, what does the new go-to-market strategy look like?
Thank you, Sally. And yes, I think we've been, tremendously successful in working with, large customers, and our goal is to continue to work with them, and we'll have, the same kind of relationships and how we build, because these customers bring forward millions of units, and we work with them and customize it, and make sure we tune their products, and that'll continue to happen. And a lot of times we directly support them, and in the middle there's always distribution, and for time and place there is engineering services, and there are tier one, tier two folks if it's automotive, etc. So there is an ecosystem. However, I think there hasn't been, as you called out, reselling. There hasn't been other resellers who, produce things for us and support our products, etc. And that's the evolution coming along, where I think we've kind of explained a lot of our products and our SOCs are highly programmable. We've published our we've had our software stack that is I would say highly customized in a lot of instances. And at CES we announced our developer zone. The developer zone is somewhere people can go in the cloud and try out our models, our SDKs. This is not building SDKs, writing codes and changing a lot of driver level code, but it is leveraging our APIs and building new applications. So at CES we launched that, and that's a significant moment, because at that point we're able to bring forward our Cooper SDK for developers who can build applications. So several things happen to evolve this. One is our exposure of that developer kit in the cloud. People can build applications in the developer zone. This enables folks to go and build applications. Now, the huge enabler of that was also technology. So, because technology wasn't there in the past, technology is still, I should say, a roadblock. However, things like agentics and things allowed us to expose the APIs with a layer of agentics, that people don't have to go through a huge learning curve of having to learn our APIs and SDKs to program and build applications. They can just get on with the application logic and leverage agentics to build applications with us. That is probably a big differentiator why this evolution and incremental go-to-market's happening, because of the capabilities that are available to us.
I mean, in terms of changes in the market, is it agentic or is it just the spread of AI going into all different applications that means the old go-to-market strategy just wasn't really sufficient anymore?
I believe that it's a market opportunity, and if you were to pursue our large customer only approach, I think you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. This The market opportunity presents itself as AI becomes more prolific. The AI moment is almost like in the 90s, the computer motion, where everything from bank tellers to hospitals, everything got computerized, or the data got computerized, and then that gave an opportunity for everybody to evolve and digitize their back office. And AI is at the same point where everything that we do becomes more, AI embedded. If that's happening, then we are able to give our capabilities. And, I think the umbrella capabilities have always existed. Our SOCs that go into systems, those systems are then, built with software, both for the drivers and applications on the top, and then applications are built. So the same chip, and we've kind of talked about the CV5, is being used for everything from 8 different applications, right? It's the same CV5 used in a car. It's the same one used in enterprise security, in consumer drones, in portable cameras. It's used in robotics, and the way you get that in all these different systems is by software programmability. Now, that software programmability layer was the layer which we did not, how should I say it, disclose. And that was something that we would write and customize. And some parts we already written applications to, some we will take customers. Customers will then build custom applications and tune that at the API level, at the driver level. That's what we used to call the Cooper SDK. That was only available to us and select customers that we would work with, and they would get access, and we would build their products, and not just one, but family of products with that, and take AI models and tune them with that. And that part, as this market opportunity opens up, if you're able to then present that SDK as a layer of AI agents, then allow people not to have a huge learning curve of going through a huge set of APIs, and that's a lot of learning curve, and you have to have a lot of developers spend months or years learning and get familiarized with, and then writing applications. All of that gone away, again enabled with AI agentic technology. So that opportunity and the ability for us to simplify how people can build applications and then present them in a cloud where the investment is absolutely nothing apart from your time and skills to go try this. That's kind of the trifecta, if you think about it, to say, yeah, I think we can open up and have other people try this without us putting a lot of effort beyond the automation systems in the cloud.
Yeah. I mean, moving from the strategy that you had, no channel at all, to moving through to working with ISVs and system integrators, I think it's going to be a big kind of transition. How hard has that been so far, like opening up, or what's been challenging in the business when you want to open this up? Was there any internal resistance to the idea, or because it's quite a big internal culture shift, right?
I believe I was hired for this.
Okay.
So I believe I'm sure, I cannot comment, but people before I was hired I'm sure there was a lot of discussions around how to, scale the company and how to kind of, and have an incremental opportunity present to us. So I would say those discussions probably happened, but, as I, because again, if you look at my background, I was at Intel 3 years before I just joined Ambarella, but before that I was 10 plus years of VMware, and I grew with VMware. I'd almost imagine VMware very limited go to market in a similar position, and I think under $1 billion of revenue, and when I left it was about $14 billion of revenue, and we have 80,000 resellers and channels and partners, and scaled through that. And everybody from ISVs and SIs and distributors and channels, as well as the other part I would call out is one is channels. The other thing that allows us to open up is technology partnerships. What technology partnerships allow you to do is show up in the market as a larger ecosystem of technology. So you don't have to build everything yourself. Now, for example, we've worked with devices. So we build IoT. Our chips go into IoT devices. When they get deployed, they are deployed as a fleet of systems. Right? If there are cameras, there are a lot of cameras. Then you have video management systems. You have software providers who then manage it. A fleet of them. Now, typically, we would be like, we're not, we build an operating system, we build a product, and it's out there. It's a system integrator or enterprise's responsibility to then do all the integrations and then deploy it at scale. Now, if we are going to present ourselves then again as a full stack solution where we have silicon systems, software, applications, then we would do some technology partnerships where we would be, hey, if you're using our silicon and you have, our software drivers and capabilities, now here's a technology partner who will help you deploy this across thousands of our nodes, thousands of our cameras, and we've done some level of integration using these APIs, and then the go-to-market is like we're not selling them; they're not selling us. We meet in the channel. The system integrators then integrate our solution, but the system integrators are now doing validated designs and blueprints. So they have cookie cutter. Because if you're a large company, you have enough IT people and people who will do all of this. If you're a smaller company, you're looking for these validated designs who say, okay, it's Ambarella-based camera and Ambarella edge node, and here's technology partner software. It's all bundled together, and this is what typically system integrators are very good at doing. And how do you go do that? So one level of partnerships is technology partnerships, where again, as we open up these APIs and SDKs, we will create some application blueprints, we'll create some reference designs, and then that gets handed over, and that allows you to scale and repeat fast.
I think when we spoke before, you kind of framed it like Ambarella was going after kind of horizontal use cases like cameras or security cameras, but then ISVs are kind of targeting verticals, so they're after retail or healthcare. Those two approaches kind of complement each other, or how do you avoid them kind of capturing value in the stack that should belong to you?
Equivalent, right? So if you think about, I would say a typical bill of materials, and I always work my way back from the end user. When I say end user, it is the enterprise or the business that is spending the money to deploy the system, and that system could be a security system, which means I have cameras, and I have a video management system, and then I have triggers, alarms, and the software that goes around with that. Then I have analytics, et cetera, et cetera. So I take a solution bill of materials, if you think about it, for every use case. And this use case could be security, it could be anomaly detection, et cetera, et cetera. So if you think about each of the solutions, a typical solution bill of materials takes a hardware, a software, and services. Hardware is made up of a system, so it's a node. It has our chips, call it, and it's a camera and this hardware may be cameras, multiple cameras attached to one node, or in the case of security, if it's in the case of say an entire retail store, it could be point of sale systems, it could be network systems, it could be camera systems, but it's all coming together. So what an enterprise in a retail, for example, would care about is what is my CapEx and OpEx per store that I have. And that's how a retailer would think about of their infrastructure. So in that bill of materials, the hardware, software, and services BOM splits up, and the players who kind of come in is you have a system cost for the CapEx. You have an OpEx cost, which I would say is paying for connectivity. It's for paying for any troubleshooting of your system going down and calling in IT consultant to fix it. And then you have that services kind of part where, and the software, which is running the system. So in that bill of materials, there's portions of value that is realized by different players, right? The hardware manufacturer OEM makes the kind of the first hardware kind of box sale that includes potentially our chip, and then as well as other components that they realize the value from. Now the system integrators puts all these pieces together, so they kind of look at they have their margins on the hardware and the software. The software providers provide the management, the orchestration, the life cycle, the patching, the analytics aspects of it. So there's a bill of materials share for everybody in this value extraction. And the value, again, coming back to you said, hey, are you losing any value as you go? This is as we engage, and you has engaged these ISVs and SIs, what feedback are you getting? For example, we engaged with one of our ISVs that we announced at CES, and they're in the retail store. So I can go along with the retail example, MelCX. And MelCX today are deploying in coffee shops, quick serve restaurants, some of the camera analytics solution, etc. But as they look at it, they were evaluating our N1655 kind of box to aggregate all the video streams and do VLMs, LLM, AI analytics on the box. When we asked them what type of cameras do you use, you're using our chips, they're like, I never thought about it, but now I'm doing a design based on it. Totally makes sense to have an Ambarella based chip and an Ambarella based box which aggregates and works together. So subtly what I'm alluding to is without that vertical play, that point of sale at value realization of is it an Ambarella based camera or is it not? Now we're actually able to pull through a lot of that preference and reference design towards us camera. So in the past it was design it, and as we're not in the value realization ecosystem, so we don't have a control over the what cameras people would end up choosing. If they chose the cameras, they wouldn't choose our preferred VMS systems, or so now you're creating a full stack use case. First is the simplicity of the reference design, highly replicatable for channels and ecosystem. The second is you can actually have an opinion on how these building blocks are done through this integration, and that drives a higher value realization for us, right?
Yeah. I'm curious about how you decide which ISVs you want to work with. Do you just pick one in every vertical, or how do you how do those partnerships come about?
So I have an approach. I think about it as a matrix, or simply put, maybe it's like a chessboard, what have you. So where you have verticals and you have horizontals, right? So you're absolutely right that you have to be very strategic on how you identify this ISVs. If you didn't have this matrix as horizontals and verticals, you could be picking one square and having dozens of ISVs in that one square. For example, that could be retail, and that is anomaly detection. And that if you have dozen ISVs in the same bucket, doesn't help anyone. However, if you're strategic about it, and you could be like, oh, I have anomaly detection, can I pick ISVs who have data in retail, in manufacturing, and so the algorithm is the same, and the algo doesn't change, but the application, the use case goes around every vertical. So you can light up multiple ISVs, but you don't want to double up on a lot of folks in each of these squares. And so strategically, your idea would be to populate as many individual squares as possible, so you're getting a catalog of ISV solutions across multiple verticals and multiple horizontal use cases. And your technology remains the same on the rows, but the use cases change on the in the columns, and largely what you're saying is your data model, the AI model is the same. However, your ingestion data varies by the verticals, because sometimes you're looking at in a manufacturing, you're looking at some quality inspection or predictive. So you're again looking for anomaly detection in a way, but it is the data ingestion that is being ingested is from multiple, looking at machine parts and things like that. Whereas in a retail store, you're looking for something else. So it's just so that the horizontal algo is the same, but it's so you go about identifying and fleshing out your entire matrix, or the horizontals and columns. That's where you get you get the breadth and the depth, and the second, and this is an important step, and this is sequential, is once I have more and more of these ISVs in the catalog, then it becomes more and more attractive to system integrators. Because they don't want to spend a lot of time integrating one point solution. They want to see this breadth of application catalog, horizontal and vertical, that then encourages them that there's more than one application, more than one type of enterprise users they can go after in multiple verticals. So the sequencing, therefore, is starting with ISVs to enrich our catalog, build a set of use cases and applications that have affinity to our chip, then go with that catalog to system integrators, and then they would be more interested as you have more range of applications and use cases across multiple verticals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Let's talk more. So we touched on DevZone a little bit earlier, but let's talk more about DevZone. Tell us about what DevZone is and who is the target user for DevZone.
Our first phase of launch of DevZone was for ISVs.
Okay.
Again, coming back to the strategy. And what is DevZone is, as described before, we had our Cooper SDK platform. And our Cooper SDK platform was available to our, direct customers that we work to customize our solutions with. What we changed at CES was on top of the Cooper development platform, we first created a model garden. A model garden was where we had a range of models. I think we have about 18, and we're adding a few every week. So I kind of lose count. But at launch we had 18, and we're adding some, right? So I think what these are highly tuned models that are already done for a chip. So people can pick a model and then look at a chip, and then they start getting statistics on performance, power consumption, latency, functionality, etc. So these are LLMs, VLMs, all kinds of models that are pre-tuned for our chips, which means a lot of work has already been done to tune them to our chips. You get really good quality. So Model Garden was just to make sure, you go after these use cases. Here's a range of models tuned for our chips, and you can choose them for a different, N1 655, N1 chips. Second, we opened up what I would call these agentic blueprints. Agentic blueprints then were like, okay, I have all these chips and these models. What can I do with them? I can put them through a smart city use case. What does it require me to do in a smart city use case? Well, in a smart city, if I have cameras looking at traffic intersections, and then I have an N1655 based edge AI box sitting along with those multiple traffic intersections, what type of use cases can I bring to life? Well, imagine if there is unfortunately an incident in one of these traffic intersections with traffic lights, and there's an accident. What do we do, unfortunately? Well, one, you can use this to trigger a few things in a smart city. You can, change the traffic lights and create detours upstream and downstream in those, signals, traffic signals, asking the box to communicate to another box, which can change and put some red lights and divert traffic. Second, you can get the box to trigger off a 911 call or an emergency call for ambulatory purposes and police and fire and all of that. So if somebody is trying to create that blueprint without writing any code, then we would be like, oh, here's a smart city agentic blueprint, and here's the pieces that you can pull this together and orchestrate it, and then create an application. So we published a couple of blueprints, and on top of the blueprints, we have some application and application catalog. So funny enough, some of those application catalogs, and they're all, how should I say, mocked up pretty quickly. One of them that we were kind of building, which probably took us 30 minutes to put together, just using what was available, was you're like your stock advisor. So if you were to, say, hey, go look at, and by the way, this is not all just tied to, and that's the beauty and coming back, right? This is not all just tied to our APIs, our SDKs. It can also go integrate capabilities from functionality from the web. So that's why I was kind of giving the stock example. Even the informing a 911 call emergency is just calling the APIs to make those calls. The stock was basically look at Yahoo Finance, look at all the stock that's there. Maybe I have listed a set of stock I'm interested in, and then it's starting to match and starting to give me alarms and notices. Now agents can go much further. If I give them access and log into, my investment portfolio, my E-Trade, etc., they can start trading on my behalf. That's scary. I want to know what's going on. But that stock, as an example, which is published, is very quick. Just combine some of our capability. That model is running now securely in your premise, in your office. So it's not in the cloud, but is it making queries to public entities to inform and create knowledge? Yes, but then the decision making is still running in your private environment, so it's not in the public environment. So that's the huge differentiation here. I'm not trading on the internet. I'm trading in and those decisions are coming in my box, but I am collecting sources of information and data from everywhere. But building this application, orchestrating it is very simple. It's like, oh, I need a stock advisor. Great. What do I need? Here's the sources of data. Here's the type of portfolios to follow. So you give some prompt engineering fundamentally, and then the whole application is built for you.
When you say prompt engineering, I'm like, how easy is this going to be? Like, am I going to be able to do it? Is it like vibe coding for AI applications? Like,
It is. It's actually we leverage tools. I think Diffie and LangChain and things where it's almost call it Visual Basic or Basic. Like I'm aging myself. Right. I've written, basic code, but Visual Basic goes, wow, I just drag and drop these bits. So it's a little drag and drop of, building blocks, and so anybody can do it, right? And I think the next level of interface is, just natural language, talk to it and say, I'm trying to solve this problem. Can you do something about it? And it'll ask you questions, and then you kind of respond, and you can, get the whole outcome you want. So it's for anybody to do it, and that's probably the reason. Again, going back to the first question you asked me, is why now is this technology evolutions happen where anybody can do it, and then there's so much opportunity. And if we are closed, we don't enable a lot of these opportunities. And therefore, the dev zone question, coming back to that, is the developer zone enables folks to go beyond that Cooper SDK, Model Garden, agentic blueprints, applications available for them to play with in developer.ambarella.com in a cloud instance. So the investment is not anything apart from time to go and look at all these assets in the cloud, play with them, look at the performance. And then if they want to go design something, then we are offering folks to kind of register and get a developer kit. Now what that takes it from is, once they've kind of in the cloud taken real data, simulated data, played around with the application, and think that they're getting the right performance with our different types of chips, then they go and say, oh, give me a kit. The kit allows you to now plug in different sensor types. They can plug in a camera, infrared, or a lidar, a radar, what have you, and then they can actually put it to test with sensors and tune them, and then deploy them, and then hopefully that drives us towards design wins, and they call us to say, hey, I need design wins, and then we have the distributors, the design houses, and the channels are like, here's somebody who can help you with this design. So at that point, it should all be automated, that we're not manually doing this as people do this on cloud and scale, and they come up with it. They look at our ecosystem and says, oh, this was done out of Bulgaria. Or we have this partner in Sofia, and they can go and, help us because they're local. And that's the benefit of this, to say, okay, I can, talk to them. They have some expertise in Ambarella, and we can get this done. So
when you say anyone can do it, I mean, is the aim really to open it up to just anyone, or is part of the aim about speeding up time to market for people who can already do it? Like, it's a bit of both, right?
it is, and I would imagine where we would see, and this is where we opened for ISVs before, and disties, and folks like that. There've been a lot of folks who wanted to do this with us, so there's the initial wave of pent-up demand, people who want to come at it and then apply and scale the solution. With the quality of our SOCs, the quality of our images, they have been wanting to get their hands on this. First, it would be the time to market for a lot of these folks, for sure. Eventually, and this is not going to happen in this quarter or other quarters, but in end of the year, beginning of next year, we would also open up to academics and researchers and universities, and we have some playing around with it right now. But what that just allows is more type of research and things you can allow, but definitely not in this first half or this year that we will open up. But I would say the first wave would be system integrators, ISVs, distributors, design houses who would want to help and build and scale, and they want a performant SoC that can do multiple things and accelerate their time to market and get those applications going. Eventually, you want to enable it to academics and developers, hobbyists, etc. We're not there yet, I would say. But that requires a large type of open source environment and things, and we would be building some of these models in the model garden that we put out in the open source, so people can see. A lot of these models come from frontier models and things in the open source community, so it's just basically they get that back. But once you get the wider aperture of developers, they all want to, support each other in the open source community. We're not there yet. We're starting to do that with the select communities of ISVs and system integrators and distributors. Eventuality will be that type of so eventually it would be everyone, and when everyone is hobbyist and it's not everyone, but I think we're not a gaming platform,
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, building an ecosystem is going to take years, or I feel like it probably will take years. How, and you talked a little bit about timescale there, but how quickly do you think before you can see the effects of this evolution in strategy?
Yes, it takes time to get the scale, and it takes time also if you're new in a new vendor. Our how should I say, our incumbency with 400 million chips deployed, 40 million edge AI chips, gives a level of, oh, it's an install base. I have already some customers, allows you to accelerate some of that time to market and that channel building. Like I said, there's a pent-up demand. People wanting to have played around with it, or like, hey, the reach outs to me have been the first call. Hey, I've been evaluating this for 6 years. I can get hold of this now. I was like, I have all these customers. That's one from the distribution and channels who've done with it. On the ISV side, approaching CES, we were unsure to say how long does it take for us to onboard a ISV, because an ISV has, data models, data sets. They built an application, not on our platform and other platforms. How long is it going to take for them to move those applications models to our platform? Is that going to be 6 weeks? Is it going to be 3 months? Is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be a year? No idea, right? And then going back to the strategy of having to do these, matrices and horizontals and verticals, how much time should I, excuse me, how much time should I allow for that? I would say we're pleasantly surprised. We're like, wow. Again, we did a press release with two of them, Cogniac and MelCX. And Cogniac was the first one. And by the way these ISVs first came about was we had a hardware reference design that were working with one of the large vendors. We haven't announced it yet, but they're not publicly there yet. But they are working on this. They've done evaluation. They've done concepts. They're actually going into production by end of the year. But as they were doing that, that large vendor then said, "Hey, when we take this product to market, these are some of the ISVs we would work with." So that's where we got here's the few ISVs. And at CES, we were under an NDA room with that design, because not publicly known, with that hardware design vendor. We were doing some customer feedback sessions. So we had these ISVs, because ISVs is easier. They have a lot of use cases. It's not a very specific hardware design. They could work on our kits and things like that. So they pointed us to some of these ISVs and said, "Hey, when we take this box to market, this is a starting point." By the way, that's a great news for you. You don't want ISVs without a hardware product, then you don't know which box to sell, right? So we did have a reference design that these folks could work on. So the first ISV, Cogniac, we were like, okay. When we first sat down with them on a theoretical basis to put a project plan, it was the 3, 6 month, 1 year plan. What was fascinating to watch was, again, the assumption is they think we are, they have never worked with us before. They think it's going to be really hard learning for them. And we think, it'll take a long time for them to come up to speed with our APIs and SDKs. And we're not, how should I say, giving benefit of doubt to all the new AI agentics and things like that. So we're like, this is the usual curve and it's going to take a long time. Was pleasantly surprised. And then we built these phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, like 4 phases, going from first 3 months, let's achieve this. Phase 0 is just knowledge sharing, and then we'll build all these applications. We send the kit. We got these folks into the office, and then we showed them how stuff works on knowledge sharing in 3-4 hours. They went away. Their CTO calls us the next day and said, phase 1's done. We're like, what? We thought it was 3 months, right? It's just like, and we're like, what happened? I was like, well, this is quite straightforward. We got this click, and then it just happened. I was like, oh, okay. We're going to demonstrate phase 1 at CES, because that's what this was, the lead up was 4 weeks to CES is when we first engaged. So it was the first week of December. We're like, well, we thought phase 1, can we try phase 2? Wow. They were like, well, let's try it. I'm not sure, but it's more complicated. I was like, 3 weeks in, they were like, phase 2's done. That was supposed to be 6 months. At that point, we got a little more confidence. 3 weeks in, now we were talking to MelCX, but we were unsure. We didn't connect with them up to like 2 weeks lead up to CES. We're like, that's not going to happen. But we saw this and said, maybe we do a phase 1 with MelCX and phase 2, getting the confidence from Cogniac. What can we do? So we went to MelCX and we're like, hey, I know 2 weeks to go. I don't know how long it's going to take. And even if it doesn't work out, that's okay. We can work with each other and do like some other show and demonstrate this, blah, blah, blah. They're like, we'll give it a try. And, again, we did a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 with them. And 3 days later, this time the second iteration was 3 days, because the first iteration we kind of learned from phase 1, phase 2. They were looking for this specific things, and we should, so the engineers were already kind of creating better ease of tooling that they can leverage for Cogniac. So we went to MelCX, and in 3 days we were phase 2 done. And we're like, Cogniac, you said you'll do phase two in, another 2 weeks. These guys did it in 3 days. What about you? And they're like, we're almost done with phase two as well. Um, so that was again pleasantly surprised, not what we were expecting, and we were able to just get these two partners on board within 4 weeks, demonstrated, have their applications and models that they have built and worked on, I would say, for months or years with other providers and other AI model providers and hardware providers, and move it to us in a matter of weeks. Of since then, we have been so embedded world. We have these ISVs, but we'll have newer ISVs, and it's not again a coincidence that the first two happened that quickly. We're starting to see a trend. Again, pleasantly surprised, and none of them have we ever worked with, and that was kind of pleasantly surprised. Now, on the other hand, distributors, other folks who work with us are moving much faster. But some of these ISVs are now going, like I was explaining, now they're like, oh, I can put your box, but I also have an opinion on the cameras that you're buying. But they're starting to hit the end customers, call it the quick serve restaurants and things like that, to start putting some of our kits into their actual retail locations and doing this evaluations already. Now, this would have taken 6 months, 9 months to actually show up in some of these, where it's just 4 weeks from CES and we're already being evaluated pretty fast in some of these quick serve restaurants. What that allows you to do, very critically, and this to me is a significant part of the conversation of the go-to-market, is it starts creating the pool for our SOCs and our solution. When you are in the traditional model only and doing this incremental, you're creating a push to the market. You build your SOCs, you work with some of these tier ones and tier twos, and then you come up with reference designs and you make those reference designs and products available. Then it's up to the channels and the ecosystem to incorporate your products into their solutions and take it to market. So you then are reliant on them to create demand and go to market. And, meanwhile, you're producing the best products, best SOCs, best performance, and you kind of spread the word that, yes, this is a good thing. What we just went through of ISVs, then putting, proof of concepts into QSRs and things like that. Now, this enterprise, who are the actual, holding the check, start having a preference for, things like our silicon in our boxes. They're like, wow, this looks really good. And it was in so fast. It had the performance I wanted, had the power envelope, performance per watt. So you start creating the pool. And when you start creating a pool in the market through ISVs and system integrators and have to push, the pull-push dynamic creates a supply-demand that you do not get by only doing a push motion. And that is back to your first question, the opportunity of the number of use cases that AI is giving us access to. And if our GTM was only a push-based and did not have a pull component to it, the pull-push creates the supply-demand dynamics for the acceleration of the adoption of some of our solutions in the market.
All right, so you said embedded world. I think this is a first for Ambarella to have a booth at Embedded World you're going to be showing off. Tell us about what we're going to show in public on this booth.
Yeah, that's exciting. I remember, again, I've been with Ambarella 7 months. My first, or maybe the second week I joined, my first week I joined was straight at the sales kickoff. It was a blur, but then it's like, this is show Embedded World. Should we go? It's like, absolutely, let's go. Right, let's sign up, and we should be there if we're talking about all these new capabilities that we're going to bring to market. And in the open, in a booth, and so let's show up and demonstrate our capabilities for everybody to see. At CES is an invite only conference that we do. So it's for customers and invite only. Now we'll be in an open floor and we'll have folks come in and stop by. So it is definitely a first, and we want to, show up, and you'll have a lot of logos, and there's a lot of kind of flashiness that everybody knows that, hey, we're here. We've arrived. So it should be significant. Demonstrations wise, let me call it in maybe 3 or 4 sections, right? We would definitely have our new CV7 product launch, and people will be looking at different types of capabilities on that and doing performance and looking at in different types of image quality. We would have videos and things of some of our new products that we launched at CES with customers, like the 360 drone from Anti-Gravity A1. That'll be there. We would have a robotic section where we'd be showcasing, robotic arms and VLA, so ability for us to run, LLMs, VLMs, VLA, all of those kind of capabilities. We would have a station for Agentics and DevZone where we'd be showing how people are quickly able to build applications and deploy them using Agentic Blueprints. We would have a station on all our automotive capabilities where you have auto automation, annotation and capabilities in our, a radar software, radar 4D software, etc. that is being demonstrated. We would have some of our ISV partners demonstrating their capabilities on our boxes. Some you saw at CES and more. We also want to show, because it's our first time, we would have a Hall of Fame, all the SOMs, all the partner, would have cameras. We have partner systems, SOMs, our own developer kits. So we have a glass, showcase with a range of products, because again, we don't want people to think, well, first time you're showing up, this must be a startup. It's nope. We have 400 million chips in the market, and these are the different form factors. So we also have that facing outside, so everybody who's walking past can see that, oh, okay, they have so many different, designs already done, and SOMs and modules and things that already exist. So almost like those sections of, here's a camera, here's our Agentics, robotics, auto, and then partners and SOMs, all of that in display. So I believe we should have about 15 to 16 demonstrations. There's one surprise demo that'll happen. That I won't give it away, but people come, and I anticipate us to be one of the first to be demonstrating that type of capability in the AI world, in the new Agentics world. But let's wait and see.
That sounds perfect. I think that's the perfect place to finish. We'll just leave it on a cliffhanger there.
Oh yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
so much,
no.
Muneyb.
It's a little scary, but yes, that's if we pull that off, that'll be brilliant. Yeah.
Well, we'll all be watching now. Thanks, Muneyb.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muneyb. That brings us to the end of the episode. Please tune in again next time for more conversations around AI silicon and systems. If you're listening to this on the podcast page at eetimes.com, links to articles on topics we've discussed are shown on your left. AI with Sally is brought to you by Aspen Core Media. Thank you for listening.